The Way Home Season 2 Episode 4 discussed the agreements Alice made with Elliot in 2001 and the one Kat made with him in 2024, as the past and present began to overlap in a number of ways. Though it seems to be behind him now, Elliot has always struggled with knowing too much about either one. Thankfully, but the past will always be difficult for him. The main mystery of The Way Home is around Jacob Landry, who one night in 1999 disappeared without explanation. Further information about what happened to Jacob, where he ended up, and what he's doing today has been progressively disclosed in the Hallmark Channel drama. His elder sister Kat has made progress in her search for her lost brother for the last 1.5 seasons. However, as the show develops, more people and storylines are added. Wake Me Up When September Ends, the show's episode from February 18, hinted at one of those. Kat went to the late Evelyn Goodwin's estate early in the second season of The Way Home to retrieve some items Evelyn had bequeathed to the Port Haven newspaper. There are several secrets hidden within the expansive mansion. Kat discovered a portrait of a woman from the 19th century that bears a striking resemblance to herself. However, Kat also seems to remember certain unpleasant things about the place. The show has been evasive about the specifics thus far, but there have been multiple indications that something distressing occurred at the estate when Kat was a young lady. We received some more direct clues regarding the incident at the conclusion of Episode 4. Following her discovery that Alice is still able to travel back in time, Kat confides in Elliot about her anxiety about what Alice might find. Very enigmatic. What may the younger Kat have done to cast Alice in a bad light toward her mother? Elliot is certainly aware of what transpired, but we are still unsure of whether she touched him or if there was another party involved. Kat and Elliot also managed to have a somewhat peaceful talk about her quest for Jacob earlier in the episode. Elliot has a history of being dubious about the benefits of traveling back in time, and he has warned Kat against trying to alter history. Now, as she shows him Jacob's Polaroids from the pond, he listens to her with sympathy. He claims that Colton constantly urged them to avoid the water, but he has no idea what they mean. Was he just being a watchful father there, or was it previously known to him that the pond held secrets? Kat is afraid that something terrible may have happened to Jacob, because she has been frustrated by her failure to locate any evidence of his prior existence. In the hopes that one of his father's old ship manifests could include Jacob, Elliot agrees to go through the collection. Kat is aware that in 1814 Jacob lived. She hasn't been able to meet him, though, because he's out of Port Haven delivering a ship for the American-British conflict. She goes back in time one more in Wake Me Up When September Ends, hoping that their paths would intersect. Sadly, she comes onto a group of men commemorating the British Army's victorious invasion on Washington during the War of 1812, rather than finding Jacob. Thomas Coyle, the man who shot Kat during her first visit to 1814, is among the celebrants. When Tim Post's character Cyrus Goodwin shows up, he chastises the men for celebrating the deaths of enemy soldiers. Additionally, he implies that Coyle is involved in some dubious activity when he makes some pointed comments to Coyle on suspiciously liked shipments of supplies for the British war effort. Susanna Augustine appears and drags Kat away while she watches. She cautions Kat that she should exercise more caution and that people might notice her unusual attire. She states, "Men fear what they don't know." Susanna ought to be aware. Because she is a healer, she is somewhat of an outsider in her community. That is, until they require her abilities. Kat chooses to be more forthcoming with Susanna, because she believes she will be more receptive to the idea of time travel than most people are. She discloses that she and Susanna's fiancé, Jacob, are also visitors from the future. Susanna acknowledges Kat's account, pointing out that it clarifies why Kat was drawn to Jacob given their differences from others. Susanna comforts Kat as she worries that Jacob isn't mentioned in the historical accounts. She claims that history is essentially a narrative produced by the Victorias. For Port Haven, that would be Cyrus Goodwin. While Kat persists in her search for Jacob, Alice is occupied with embarking on her own historical excursions. This time, she travels to the fall of 2001, just when everyone is still in shock over the events of September 11, 2001. David Webster's character, young Elliot, is also struggling since Kat moved out with Brady. Sadly, his suffering doesn't go away with Kat's return. It actually makes matters worse. Elliot and Alice learn that Brady is going to ask Kat to marry him when she and Brady return to Port Haven for a visit. Elliot is inconsolable. He is in love with Kat, but he had no idea that their connection would swiftly escalate into something more serious. He now has the opportunity to express his feelings to her, but has lost it. He implores Alice to tell him what lies ahead and whether he will ever get a chance to date Kat. She attempts to soothe him even though she is reluctant to divulge too much. She says, "Knowing the two of you, you're going to be just fine." Elliot says those exact words to Kat in the present tense later. Teen Elliot not only has to deal with severe heartbreak, but Brady also asks him to take pictures of his extravagant Moulin Rouge-themed proposal to Kat. Kat agrees to marry Brady at a more sedate time on the water, but she finds the song and dance performance too much. Unbeknownst to them, Elliot is filming the scene from a distance, while Alice is standing close by, watching. It goes without saying that Kat and Brady's relationship doesn't work out in the end. But even so, it's a touching moment to see as they promise to work together, to create a future after the grief of Colton's passing, Jacob going missing, and a major world tragedy.